Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Miss Wilkins. I wanted to do a really quick video on instrument care and if you're not a native string player, what you need to look for in your students for proper maintenance of their instruments. Okay, this is my case. Obviously, this is a professional case. This is not what students will have, but it has the basic elements that all student cases have. Okay, so let's get started. The main thing about your instrument is that most cases have some sort of fastening system, and you want to train students that they need to be velcroing in or strapping in their instruments, because as you can imagine, if this isn't strapped in and you open the case, the instrument will go flying. Okay, so we don't want that. Some other items that I keep in my case that are simple for students to have is just a plain rag, so that they clean off their instrument. And I've actually had to have a little dusting here to do. Underneath the bridge and underneath the fingerboard. You can go the other way as well. If you have a student who has sweaty hands, you really want them to wipe off their fingerboard every time they play, because that moisture will get inside the string and will rust the string from the inside out. These strings are not completely sealed, they're wound, so there are minuscule little openings in the string as the winding goes around the core, and the moisture gets in there and will rot your strings or make your strings die sooner than they need to. So always be wiping off extra hand perspiration, okay? And so while you still have your rag in your hand, I like also to, especially for cellists, but for every bow player, bow string instrument, needs to wipe off their rosin off of their bow. Now, as you know, you probably are well aware that you are not supposed to have your fingers touching the bow hair. You're going to train the kids never to put their fingers on this, because the oil and the dirt from your fingers will make the hair be unusable. It'll be too slippery and we won't get a good sound. So first thing is, we don't touch the horsehair, but you've got your rag. You're going to slide it in here, pull it from the other side, and then just swab that rosin off of the bow, because what happens is the rosin builds up, and either on the violin or the bow, and you have to use chemicals to remove it, which is not good for the instrument. Okay, so when they are finished playing, they're going to loosen their bow, and they should already have known that to tighten it to play, but you're going to go tell them righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, loosen that bow, it goes into the bow spinner and gets locked in place. Okay, so that can't come out either. So that's really important. So items that I keep in my case, obviously, is a rag, and just some other auxiliary items that are for students that are super really handy. One of them are fingernail clippers. I've actually tried to buy fingernail clippers for in my entire class, and I have them put into their cases. It's just super important. You cannot play a string instrument with long nails. So, and I usually make you know, deals with kids that I only need these 4 fingers, and you can grow the others out, but ideally their nails should be short. So that is in every single case, as well as some rosin. So if the student has their own instrument, then they can get their own rosin. I have class rosin that sits out in my classroom. I glue it down to a piece of wood, and it's really big and cumbersome, so it can't walk. And so there's rosin always available, but if students are taking instruments home, you want to make sure you have an inexpensive cake of rosin, and you remind them not to drop it, because this will shatter. This is tree sap, but it will shatter if it drops on a hard surface. So we want to make sure they understand how to properly take care of their rosin, and also not put their fingers on it either, because this is going on their bows. Okay, so rosin is in the case. Some other items that I find handy, I like to have a little pencil sharpener, and of course a pencil, which should be in their case. If they're a real serious student, you know, they will have these 2 items. I also put in a practice mute. If you don't know as a teacher what a practice mute is, this is great for if kids have lots of people in a house. This will make it so that they can practice, and it's highly muted. So practice mutes, they come in these rubber kinds, and they also come in metal kinds. I like the metal ones because they're even more silencing. They're really heavy duty. So you can suggest this if a kid has trouble practicing at home because they've got siblings or parents working or something like that. So you can suggest that. And then another interesting item, this again, because I'm a music geek, I have my miniature metronome that has a little clock, and it can fit right into my case. Well, maybe not there. All right, so for violin viola, that's pretty much it for maintenance care. We also want to remind students that if there's a blanket in their case, they want to cover the instrument, and most importantly, they want to zip everything up. Just going to do one side, and that when they're picking up the instrument in the case, we don't want the case to be upside down on the floor, because that's the equivalent of putting your instrument on its face. So it always lies on its back and on a stable surface. When it gets stored in the house, it should not be in your heater or any hot anything. If there's really a problem with cracking, you want to talk to the parents about humidity control. This is an issue up here in Alaska, so if you have students who have their own instruments, you want to have some sort of humidification system in the case or in the house or in the room. I actually humidify my entire room here in the house, but that's a little more extreme. But if you have a really advanced student who has a really nice cello, you probably want to talk to them about humidifying that room so that the cello or with the larger instruments don't crack. They're the big liabilities. Okay, I'm going to do another video for cello and bass, but this is basically how you maintain your instruments. Take care, guys. See you in the next video.